Hello and welcome to my series called Messages of Joy. Today, my name is Joy Koff. I am the owner of Miracles of Joy, and today it is my pleasure to be interviewing the relationship miracle worker and her name is Merle M Singer. Merle, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Joy. It's a pleasure for me to be here.
So, how did you get started as what they call a relationship miracle worker?
Well, it's a long story. I think probably most things start, even if just the seed, in your childhood. Certainly in my childhood, there were some things that happened. I am one of two children of my mother who wanted to have children, loved us dearly, but she was not perfect. Now that's shocking, I know, because the rest of us are perfect. But one of her things was she would tease me, and she would tease me until I cried. And I tried so hard. Okay, I know I know she's just teasing. I'm going to hold out. I'm not going to cry. But she would just be relentless until I cried. And we can psychoanalyze her and say it had to do with the relationship she had with her sister. But I was a kid. What did I know? But what I did figure out was that I had to learn how relationships worked, how people were for my own survival. So by the time I was a teenager, I had figured enough out that I was telling my mother some things she ought to do with my dad to make their relationship smoother. What was interesting was she listened to me. I was her and it worked. That was more amazing. So that's my background. And then I got married as I grew up, and I was married it was 19 years, going on to the 20th year. And I don't know what happened, but I just was not happy. I was really unhappy. And we called the kids together and I told them we're splitting. And my youngest said, well, have you seen a therapist? And I said, Daddy won't go. And Daddy said, oh, all right. And we did go to a couples therapist. And, it did make the relationship better. But I was still unhappy. That was a clue that some of the stuff that was going on in my head had to do with me, that there was something outside the relationship that was making me unhappy. And I was like blaming it all on the relationship, but I had no idea what it was. So I decided to just put Nathan on a shelf for now. He'll be there when I get back. And I just focused on myself. And I just said, well, if I'm not happy, let me do something that I'm not doing now. And maybe that'll make me happy. Well, I don't know, because I didn't know what would make me happy. But I know I thought about certain things. I thought about joining Toastmasters, which is a communication and leadership organization. And so I joined. And then I said, well, I always wanted to be active in my temple. So I called up the rabbi and said, hey, I want to be on this committee. And I ended up as the head of that committee. And I just went through things. And pretty soon, what was going on in my life that was me. That was just stuff I wanted to do. And I came home and I said, hi, honey, how are you doing? When I did things that made me happy, I did think, okay, well, I'll join Toastmasters. Oh, well, that's fun. Oh, I'll do this. Oh, well, that's fun. And I came home and I said, hi, honey, how are you? And my husband looked at me like I was a Martian. And he's like, what do you mean, hi, honey? I mean, his eyes said that. And I realized, oh, I hadn't been being very nice to him. That was a revelation. So after that, I started I wasn't even being nice to him. I was reflecting how I felt.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt good. And so I acted like I felt good. And it changed. It didn't change who he was. It didn't change every annoying thing about him, but it changed his happiness. It made him feel if I was happy, I created a happy environment. He was happy. If he was happy, he did things to make me happier. So he would do things to make me feel good. It was amazing how I was a leader in my own marriage, in my own life, by how I took care of myself first. It's like putting the oxygen mask. You know how they say on the airplane, put the oxygen mask on yourself first, then help your kids and everybody else around you. That's what I did, and it works. That's when I said, I have something to offer other people that's just a little bit different from what I've heard. It's not necessarily a matter of how you two connect. It's how you connect with yourself first and then move on. So that was my beginning. Now,
so what for doing?
I didn't hear the question.
Okay, so what motivated you to do this work?
I have a I have a kind of quirky point of view that's a little bit different from other people that I don't hear being said out in the world that I think makes a difference in people's lives. And if I have something to share that's unique and particular, and my style of giving it and whatever brings me to people that wouldn't otherwise have this information, that makes me feel fabulous. I mean, I have a teaching background. It's kind of what I do. So that got me into that. That got me into, I have a 3-step to transform your relationship experience course that I present. When I think about relationships, I think about them in 3 particular areas, which is, I think they're the areas that people that have to make really big decisions and they use emotions when they shouldn't. Sometimes we need to use our emotions. Sometimes maybe it's best left for later. And those 3 times are when we're looking for a man, or looking for a partner, whatever. When we have a partner and we're looking to get rid of them, or maybe should we keep them? Should we get rid of them? What should we do? Then sometimes we get into a whole emotional tizzy and react. I like to get people in a situation where they act, not react. So that's when you're looking for a partner, when you're thinking about whether you want to keep the partner, and the other time is when you're thinking about quitting your job. But maybe you can't quit your job. How can I stay on this job and not make myself crazy? Mm-hmm. It's really important to be able to protect yourself, feel good about yourself, and still live your life and make money when you have to make money and do the things that are required in your life. So those are my 3 areas: before you get married, before you get divorced, and before you quit your job. They're the particular times people could use a little bit of help in how to deal with that.
So how long have you been doing this work?
Well, it's only been like maybe 5 or 10 years. I kind of waited because I've seen a lot of people that give marriage advice that are divorced. And I thought, well, here I finally made myself a nice, happy marriage. I don't want to risk it. But but after a while you realize, okay, I think it's going to be okay. And at this point I'm married 50 years. So, I there is a time to take action. So I
Right.
wrote a book. I don't know if you can see that.
Yes.
Cracking the Relationship Code, the key to happy relationships at home and at work. Which is based on what I just said to you, the things to know before you get married, before you get divorced, and before you quit your job. And so that I just have kept moving.
So tell me about what someone can expect from a session with you. Someone calls you up and says, I'm having all these issues in my relationship and I really need some help. What can they expect in a session?
Well, what they can expect is that we'll need to explain to me what it is that they're not happy with. And then at that point, then we can make a plan on what we can do or what the person can do. Sometimes they can come and all they need is one session. But sometimes we can make a plan to have once a week or once every other week, depending. Everybody's a little different.
Mm-hmm.
And we make a plan of what it is, what do you want, and then we talk about how do you get there.
Perfect. So a lot of what I'm hearing is when you change your mind, you change your life.
I couldn't have said it better myself. And a lot of it is also, yes, changing your mind and how you see things. I have a great story to tell you. I have a story. This weekend, I went back east, back to Maine. My grandson got married, and he married Megan, just like Prince Harry married Megan, and on the same day. And we woke up in the morning, and it was beautiful and sunny, a great day for a marriage. By the time it was 2:00, and we had to go over to where the chapel was, it was raining already. By the time we got to the chapel, it was raining. But the service was gorgeous. The bride, of course, looked fabulous. George was happy. Everything, the people were happy. The weather was raining, 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 raining. They had tents outside for the reception and the dinner. It was outside and it was raining and it was muddy. It was a perfect metaphor for life, because here was all this joy, and yet, life is never perfect. But what was it that this bride and groom focused on, and what did everybody else focus on? They dealt with the rain, but they lived and enjoyed the joy of this happy occasion. And I think it's a perfect metaphor.
And rain is always good luck on your wedding day.
Yes, I told them. I said, a happy day for every drop. They're going to live a long time.
So how do you connect with spirit?
I don't know how I connect with spirit. I like to focus on how the spirit is within ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
How we allow ourselves to be, how we allow ourselves to be not perfect, how we allow ourselves to control what we can control and let go what we can control. and have the wisdom to know
Mm.
the difference. So, and I'm not the first person to have said that, but I'm not the first person to have said that because it's powerful.
Mhm.
That's what I think makes for a happy life, happy, productive life. To me, I feel that everyone has been put on this earth. If we're here, if we're alive, whatever spirit is, whatever anything else is, it is our job, if we're, as long as we're here, to be the best and do the best, to be the best that we can be and do the best for this world, for the people in it that we can do. That I have a strong feeling about.
So, where are some of the places that you've traveled to? And tell us a little bit about your life, your hometown, where you come from.
Well, I was born in Philadelphia. My father was a pharmacist, and we had a store on top of on top of the store, uh, on the corner of Large and Sanger. And I walked to school, Henry R. Edmonds, and I walked to my temple in the other direction. Um, I went to high school, got married. Well, no, I didn't get married. I went to high school. I went to college. Um, and where have I traveled? I have my bachelor's and my master's degree in education, psychology of reading. And uh, I've traveled. I've traveled to Italy. I have a friend that's just going to Italy today or tomorrow, uh, um, and Paris and Europe and Nova Scotia, and we went to China, saw the Great Wall of China, saw the terracotta army, the terracotta soldiers. I didn't think I'd be so impressed, but I was really. The other place that I never thought I'd be impressed by was the Eiffel Tower. I always thought that looked just like an erector set. Thought it was a stupid idea to build that dumb thing until I went there, and I was in awe. So I guess it doesn't pay to have preconceived notions about things. That's kind of what I learned in travel. I remember when I was a kid, they said, eat your food. People are starving in Europe. And then I went to Europe and I said, they look pretty good to me. And the food was delicious. So that's some of, so I got married to my husband. He had 2 children. They came to live with us, Ruthie and Joseph. Then we had Isaac. So we have 3 children, and I have 3 grandchildren, one of which I told you about.
Mhm.
And the other 2 have boyfriend, girlfriend. So it's been a nice life I've had. So my husband owned a pharmacy. My husband is an artist. So if you know anybody that's good at promoting, my husband is excellent at doing art. He is not great at promoting. So let me know. And what else would you like to know?
I think we pretty much covered it all. Thank you so much, Merle, for joining me today. And I really look forward to seeing your work and seeing some of your workshops in the future. Thanks for
Yes.
joining me.